Hello Fantasy Managers, my name's Tom. Welcome to another F1 Fantasy video. This one is for the Canada Grand Prix. This is my final thoughts given to you here from a very thunderstormy southeast England late at night. Thunder's been booming, lightning's been crackling, and that's just on the track, but it's also been happening here in the skies. But yeah, we're going to have a think about what are we doing going into this weekend. I've got the slide up here, just very briefly have a look. Nice sunny weather, don't have to worry too much about rain. I think there was some low percent chance of rain, but I'm not going to be worried too much about that. It looks like it's going to be sunny and, warm enough to be nice weather for the travelling fans. In terms of the circuit itself, it is 70 laps of one of my favourite circuits, actually, of the whole calendar. I think I say this every year, probably because it's the truth every year. But yeah, I do really enjoy this track. I just love the flowiness to it. It's just, lots of high speed, heavy braking. That turn 3, I don't know, something about that turn 3 into turn 4, like little section, just really love it. So yeah, something for me to get excited about personally. It is a track which does have not the best safety record. We can see over the last 3 years we've had quite a few DNFs, 5 here last time out, including double DNF for the Ferraris. Let's hope for the majority of us who are sat on Ferrari at the moment, if we continue down that way, that doesn't happen again. We've already seen the Leclerc struggling and didn't even get into FP2, so yeah, very interesting. Safety-wise, not especially great, and also not especially great for overtakes. So we might see a few of the lower B tier ranked drivers struggle a little bit to get some points. Again, similar to the likes of Imola, Monaco, etc. Not great for overtakes. So yeah, might be potential for limitless, potentially, nice weather and everything, but right now, I'm not really seeing much in the way of limitless because you've got the Williams that are looking fast, Mercedes also looking fast. Ferrari kind of in the mix as well. McLaren obviously up there as well. So yeah, for limitless users not really this weekend if you still got that chip available. But yeah, there we go. That's kind of the circuit intro. So let's get into what happened in FP2. Like FP1 is never something I paid too much close attention to. It's more of a feeler session, I find. So FP2, a bit more interesting what's going on, a bit more representative perhaps of the time of day and everything, blah, blah, blah. And interesting to see that the Mercedes are right back up there. George Russell, he's good around here. Pole position, was it 1 minute 12 dead along with Max Verstappen, but George got the pole here previously because he took the lap before Verstappen. So yeah, we know Russell is definitely good around here. We also know Alonso's good around here. I think he's got a P2. Was it a couple of seasons ago? I think Alonso qualified P2. Yeah, very, very strong for Alonso as well. So that's certainly some food for thought at 4.5 million. The Williams looking so strong. Albon here, P4. Carlos Sainz, P7. We saw multiple times these guys getting purple sectors, but then something not quite going on, going off at the last corner or something, not quite finishing the lap or whatever. The Williams definitely look good. It's just a real shame that budget-wise they don't look so good. Otherwise, I think there'll be a lot more people kind of all over them. But I do think the Williams still look like good, strong contenders this week. Again, Ferrari, not exciting. We saw Leclerc crash out in FP1, which meant he couldn't take part in FP2 as well. Lewis Hamilton seemed pretty happy with the car, though, for FP2, so that does bode well for Ferrari owners, myself included. And the race pace from, very early thoughts. This is, like I said, I'm recording this immediately after FP2. From what I've seen from various people on Twitter that keep track of the race pace and everything, it looks like the Ferraris are kind of on par with Mercedes as far as I can tell, so that's kind of interesting. But then if Mercedes are just better at qualifying and then they have the same race pace and it's tough to overtake, are Mercedes just going to beat the Ferrari? So it's kind of interesting. Again, food for thought. Do we want to switch back to Mercedes? I know they're not great for budget game, but they've still got potential. And if they are one of the top 2 constructors, then I think they certainly should be under consideration again. If they're going to be qualifying strongly, race pace is fine, then Mercedes could be right back in the picture. It does concern me, their reliability issues and having, all these Mercedes-powered cars in your team could prove a bit risky, shall we say. But yeah, past that, no other real surprises other than maybe Max Verstappen down here. But Max Verstappen was struggling all through FP2, sliding around a lot. So yeah, and just giving feedback on the radio to say that, not, brakes are cold, not turning in properly. And yeah, just lack of grip and just nothing really good coming from Max Verstappen on the radio. Not that he never really says, "Oh, this is fantastic," but yeah, still doesn't really bode particularly well. And past that, it's kind of what you'd expect down here. The main outlier here is Colapinto, miles and miles back. Like, the whole top 17 here, because obviously Stroll crashed out. No surprises. Top 17 covered by just over a second, but then you've got Colapinto all the way back at 1.7. Colapinto's just struggling. He's spun twice in FP2 as well. Yeah, Colapinto in my team at the moment, probably in a lot of yours because of his price at 4.5 million. Could be on the chopping block because it just doesn't fill me with confidence, but he only needs 2 points to get a price rise. A 0.2 price rise, 2 points, and I think he needs 6 points to get the maximum rise. I definitely think he could get that 0.2, but I'm not convinced by 0.6, and I'm not convinced by him just in general. So yeah, we'll discuss that in a second. So here is my team coming out at the back of Spain. Had a great weekend in Spain all in all, and going into this weekend, I was thinking, pretty simple, just ship off Bortoleto or Colapinto. Bit extreme. Colapinto. At the moment, I'm thinking maybe Colapinto. Bring in Hulkenberg. It doesn't particularly excite me having double Sauber in here. But that said, that Sauber's clearly nicely upgraded, and maybe the technical directive has improved them as well from Spain as well. So going double Sauber might not be the worst thing in the world, and it gets you away from Colapinto that's just spinning all over the place. So, and the budget game potential of Hulkenberg is just great. So this is, going into this weekend, this is where my head was at. I was like, it's pretty simple, it's pretty scripted what most of us can do this week. You could argue maybe you want to get rid of Bortoleto and keep Colapinto. If we have a quick look at the budget enabling shenanigans, you can see Colapinto only needs 2 points for a price rise. Bortoleto needs 6, so therefore maybe you want to hold Colapinto because 2 is a lot more likely than 6. But as we've seen, Colapinto just doesn't inspire any confidence at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of races' time if he's not even in the seat anymore, the way Alpine's have been directing things about, yes. But anyway, so like I say, going into this weekend, this is kind of where my thinking was at, going Hulkenberg and just kind of forgetting about it. There are some other options, though, that have arisen as of sorry, I just smacked the microphone in case you picked up. There are some other options that have arisen thanks to what's happened in the practice session, so let's have a look at them. One thing that we could do, as I've already touched on, is revert back to the Mercedes. And again, I think regardless of what I do, one thing that I am definitely going to do, I'll say this before I go into all the iterations, is I'm almost certain, never say never in fantasy, we've seen what happened with Leclerc crashing out. If Hulkenberg crashes in FP3 and suddenly he can't qualify, then maybe we don't want Hulkenberg in our team. But starting P20 might not be the worst thing in the world, but starting with a -5 it also isn't great. But anyway, my point is I'm very, very, very likely to have Hulkenberg in my team, and it's very likely to be either Bortoleto or Colapinto. So let's just say Hulkenberg's just in. For the time being, we'll say that Colapinto's out because he doesn't instill confidence, but the price rise potential of Colapinto is decent. So anyway, my other option is, obviously the option is just to take that one transfer, have 3 going into the next race in Austria, but I do think that Mercedes are certainly tempted just because of how strong they look in FP1, FP2. The fact that Antonelli's up there as well, we saw him in P3 there. Antonelli being up there as well is like, maybe this Mercedes is just good around this track. Maybe it's just meant to be. If we flick over to the budget builder, obviously this is one of the reasons why I'd be very reluctant to go Mercedes, because when you look at what they need in Ferrari, we're sat on Ferrari, they only need a -28 to get the maximum price rise of 0.3. Mercedes need 55 points. That's a whopping difference. A whopping difference in range of points that are required to get that price rise. So if we go Mercedes and they don't hit 55 points, we're falling behind against the Ferrari owners. So that is certainly not great. But if the Mercedes are as strong as they appear to be, then that 55 points should certainly be within reach, and 33 almost certainly, provided we don't get more random DNFs or whatever, then I think they can definitely get that. If we have a quick look at the statistics, when we load, we go down to the constructors, we'll have a quick look at the non-sprint weekends, the sort of first 2 or 3 constructors. So let's say McLaren are going to be the top constructor again this weekend, most likely will be the case. The second constructor, 67 points. Bear in mind, whilst we're going through this, Mercedes need 55 points. 55 points to get there. So yeah, second constructor, 67, easily 0.3 rise, and Mercedes is second best here. Ferrari, 36, so yeah, they would have only got a 0.1 rise. Move to Japan, 56, so just gets the cut off of 55 points there. Bahrain, 73.60. So you can see, kind of in general, that second place team is just basically a lock for getting 55 points. I say a lock. It's quite tight on these lower scoring tracks, and something like Monaco, past the second constructor, it's just a massive drop off. And Imola, but even in Imola, actually, it's a really high scoring amount of points here. I think maybe because of overtakes, positions gained, that sort of thing going on there. But yeah, I think if we sort it by average at the end here, The average is only 48 here, but that's misleading because it takes into account all these like DNFs and that. So if you just look at the actual second best constructor on a week, they are consistently scoring above 55 points. So if we think the Mercedes are the second best constructor, or maybe even competing for the win here, dare I say it, then I think going Mercedes is perfectly fine, to be honest. And like I said, it does come with some risk. They have had some reliability issues, but they're looking good in practice so far. And, you know, the 55 points looks horrible when you look at if we go back to the budget builder, it looks horrendous when you compare it to Ferrari that only minus 28. You know, Ferrari are near enough guaranteed to get a maximum rise. So if you go Mercedes, you need them to really perform. But then, you know, when after this race, that 9 from round 8 will drop off, and suddenly we're back into, you know, they should be getting 0.3 comfortably past that. So I do think there's a strong argument for going back to Mercedes, but we'll see what happens in FP3. We'll see what Leclerc comes into the mix. You know, he hasn't had much running until, I think, did he last like 10 minutes in FP1 or something? So we'll see how Leclerc looks. We'll see also, obviously, what the simulations say in terms of the F1 simulations, as well as getting a bit more information on race pace, that sort of thing, before deciding between the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes. And I think there's an argument maybe as well. You might want to look down to Williams, but because of the price stuff going on here, they need 55 points for a big rise, and even 39, I don't see them getting. Although they do look very strong. It's a shame that their points here, the budget rising potential is just so bad, because I can't see them doing quite as well as Mercedes. But I do think they look very strong otherwise. But yeah, another option is also. Again, this would require me to take a minus 10, which I'm just not going to do. But other people in a different position, maybe they've still got Mercedes or have already got Hulkenberg, and it's just easier for them to do. And I do think getting someone like a Carlos Sainz also might not be the worst thing in the world, and you can actually do this. Again, with my budget, I can scrape this with the Ferraris with just 2 transfers to get Carlos Sainz and get some of that Williams coverage. And again, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. If you look at the price game potential, Sainz does need 14 points just to avoid a drop. He needs 7 to get just like the smallest drop of 0.2, and then anything less than that, then he's going to get the big drop, which is obviously a risk. But if Williams do look that good, and they do look good, and James Vowles sounded confident when they spoke to him in FP2, saying that they're good on the braking, they got good traction, and they're good in the straight line. Like this track, if anything, seems like it's kind of made for Williams. It's kind of made for Williams. I don't hate going someone like Carlos Sainz, like, you know, going Albon. You're almost locking in a 0.6, or you are basically just locking in a 0.6 drop, so I don't really like going there. Same for Williams. I don't see them getting 55 points, but, you know, it's doable, potentially 39. I don't know, I still feel like it's a bit tight. But I do think Sainz 14 points. If Sainz can get 14 points, he gets a rise. I think that might be worth it. Even if he gets, like, somewhere between 7 and 14, and you only lose 0.2, but you get like 10 points. Is that 10 points worth it over someone like a Colapinto or Bortoletto that's going to score you 1 or 2 points? Maybe in the long run, I don't know. But, you know, is that sort of extra few points worth like a 0.2 drop? It's kind of hard to know. But they do look really good. The Williams do look really good. So again, I wouldn't hate doing something like this. Like I say, you could also do it with Mercedes quite comfortably. You could even like go to Albon, but then you're just sucking up 0.6. So I don't think I'd go there. And the last little segment I just wanted to be was to throw it out because I've just seen this on Twitter. This is Oscar Piastri up here. His race runs compared to George Russell. So basically McLaren versus Mercedes. It's super tight, and George Russell looks very impressive in the long run. Like the race pace is there, the qualifying pace is there as well. Then this just gives me more food for thought that Mercedes might be good. And I know there's some talk that maybe the cooler temperatures of the cooler session time and everything, and maybe it'll be hotter on the race. I don't think it's gonna be that much difference, and I don't think a few degrees is going to make too much difference, or maybe even a couple of degrees is going to make that much difference. I don't know. It might do, might not, but because we know how sensitive temperature sensitive the Mercedes is. But if we just look at these times, like, it's pretty crazy. We'll just run through it. Piastri 17 flat, and then 16.2, 16.1, 16.6, 4, 5, 8, 8. That's pretty consistent. You've got a good bunch in, probably averaging around 16.6 or something there. Then you've got Russell at 16.8, 4, 16.1, 16.3, 16 flat, 16.1, 16.3, 16.5, 3, 6, 7, 8. Like that. That's really good consistency, really good signs for the race pace and tyre wear and everything for the Mercedes. So yeah, that's just wanted to chuck that in there and just like fully on the Mercedes hype train at the moment. Just someone pull me away from this cliff. I just want to do a nice easy transfer. If we just hop it back to the triple teams here, I just want to do a nice easy transfer, just Colapinto to Hulkenberg and just leave the Ferraris in there. And I may very well still do that, but I'm undecided because it's still, late at night just after FP2. We still got FP3 to come and more simulations and stuff to come out. We obviously got F1 Fancy Tools simulations to come out, which will be very interesting to see as well. I'm recording before that comes out. But yeah, my initial thoughts on Mercedes just look pretty good. And maybe moving back to them now isn't the worst thing in the world. It feels bad jumping, from Mercedes to Ferrari to Mercedes, etc. But maybe now Mercedes is going to shake off those previously bad results and be in the mix for a potential win here. I'm not even kidding for the way things are looking. Maybe I'm getting overexcited here. Maybe I'm overtired and just need to go to bed. But yeah, the fact that Mercedes are in the mix for at least a podium, judging from what's gone on so far, I know it's only Friday, it's only practice, whatever, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think it's certainly consideration. And because they're a lot cheaper. They're like 4.4 million cheaper than Ferraris. It opens up a lot more budget for the B tier drivers. It opens up options if you want to move Piastri up to like a Norris or something. It gives you more options and flexibility going forward. And the final thing I want to say, just going to chuck this in at the end here, is I think I mentioned earlier. I don't know. I'm tired, so I don't know what I've said and what I haven't now. But one other thing I would say is Fernando Alonso is on the radar as well. I would say in terms of the whole budget thing here. Obviously not going to gain price here. Obviously not going to gain price. He's got his negative 16 sitting around here from round 8. But a big 14-pointer coming in from Spain at 4.5. Like he's going to be looking very good over the next couple of races once this minus 16 drops off. So maybe, the fact that he's good around here, he's P5 and FP2, 14-pointer sat here ready to take him forward and up price game. Maybe, let's hop back here. Maybe someone like Fernando Alonso could also be decent alongside Hulkenberg. Obviously, you're very unlikely to get any sort of price gain out of Alonso this week unless he wins the race. In fact, what was it to get a price gain? 15 points. Yeah, so I'll keep hopping to that. Yeah, I do think that something like this could also be an option. If you don't want to faff around the constructors, then Alonso could be a good one because he looks very good going forward from Austria onwards. So yeah. That is kind of where I'm thinking. I'm still very much debating, do I bring in Mercedes, keep hopping around the constructor, optimize the constructor for the points and just worry about the B tiers in terms of budget. Alonso could be good for points and then going forward could be good for budget. So I do think he's a good option as well, potentially. Could finally see the back of Bortoletto and Colapinto this week, who knows, but yeah, so my mind is kind of, as always, on a Friday evening, a bit split between different options, but FP3 will hopefully kind of cement where I'm going, and then we'll lock in that decision. So thanks very much for listening to me. These have been my final thoughts for Canada, and yeah, let me know what you think down below in the comments. So thanks for listening. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.